been a few minutes since I've done a video. Last time out, I didn't actually do any video of my car running. As some people know, the car actually runs to personal best. Car ran 5 passes, and it was 4 10.1s over 140 and a 10.008 at 144 something. So I'm that close to my 9-second goal. After that night, I decided to come back, and the next day I just wanted to do some tests on the car, and done a compression test, and compression wasn't what I wanted to see. I think it's been down for a while. Found out that head gasket's good, sealed good, held good. The only problem I run into, it looks like my valves were leaking. So I done a leak down test, kind of found out I had intake and exhaust valves. The intake was really bad about leaking. Had 2 valves that apparently were mildly bent, and they've been like that for apparently a good while. And then I had some valve seats that was not right, and had almost every intake valve and exhaust valve was leaking. So compression was all over the map from 150, 170, 180, and then one was over 200, like 205 to 210. So moral of the story is, got the heads, been off the last couple weeks. Got a new couple valves put in, some new valve seats put in, and got an entire valve job done on the head. So this thing's about ready to go back together, and we got the new head, or the redone head, back ready to go on the car.
Head back here, and go ahead and get it unpackaged. Everything nice and cleaned up, ready to go. So we done vacuum tests on all the intake and exhaust ports. All the valve train back in there nice and settled in. So, but when we talk about the car, pistons look good, walls look good, cars, looked like it was burning as it was supposed to. The head gasket had not shown any signs of blowing, so you're gonna get this thing back together, and hopefully the compression is back where it's supposed to, and get this thing back at the track. So if it was down as much as I thought it was, this is gonna be a pretty nice little power increase. It's gonna balance the motor back out, and probably be it add 30 to 60 horsepower back to the motor, if not more than that. So back the boost back down a little bit, probably make the same power, and then tune it back up and let her rip at 30 plus pounds of boost. Also, one thing we done, we're upgrading to some L19 Speed Factory head studs. So as you notice, my head studs are already missing here, so I'm getting ready to put these new L19's in and get these things cranked down to 90 something pounds of pressure, and should not have any chance of that head lifting. So I've got a new head gasket, and as you see here, all the valve train, the head sitting right there, not valve train, but the rocker arms, and lost motion assembly, etc. And we're going to try to get this car back together tonight, and Saturday we'll be running this car again, and hopefully, cross fingers, that 9-second pass. So here we go. Not everybody may have a spare block laying around. I keep a spare block laying around, that way if I decide to sleeve one, or I've got a problem, I've always got a spare. So what I've done, I'll take my old ARP head studs, set them in there, and I'm going to set the head back on here. It gives me a nice platform to sit down and rebuild the head and put everything back together. So like I say, that's not everybody's got the situation, but it's the perfect situation to have a nice platform to sit down and reassemble a head before you put it back on the car. For those of you that hadn't seen how these heads go back together, I'll give you a quick demonstration. You got the rocker arm rods that go into the side of the head, and I've got all my rocker arms, they come in 3 individual pieces, and they got lock pins in them, so you got to make sure those lock pins don't come out on you. So I'm going to grab a set. I've got all these, I took them all out one at a time and laid them out, marked everything, exhaust, intake, and took them out and set them in positions on a drawing. That way I keep everything organized. So let me grab the next set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check and make sure my pin is in. There's one, and there's the little pin that locks in. That one's got a pin. That one, they all got the pins. So what I'll do is set the first rocker in and get it kind of in position, and then these two I'll put together, push them in. and there's one, and there's the next one. And you just keep the rod pushing. So now my neck rod's through again. I'll put a little assembly lube on it just to keep everything fresh. Spin it around, and then I'll pull it back, spin it. That way I got a little bit of assembly lube all the way around, ready to go into the next set of rockers. So you just keep, like I say, reverse. You pull these out as you're taking this rod out, and then you just take them out one set at a time. Easiest way to do it is take a big cardboard or something template, draw out your exhaust, your intake, and then set each set of rockers just as you take them out on a little square that you draw out for them. And that way everything goes back together, nice and clean going back in. Okay, something you don't want to forget, now that I got all the rockers in, is if you look in the center of the head right here, you got your oil ring, which is what feeds the oil back up to the VTEC, or into the head. So you do not want to forget this little O-ring, which I've got it over here with my stuff, and I'll set it in the exact same spot. When I marked everything out, I mark everything exactly as it comes off the head, just so I don't lose anything. So it'll snap right back in. And you also have the two camshaft, or the rocker arm pieces that go in right here that have the seals on them as well. So you got to make sure they go back in the right spot. And again, biggest thing when working on one of these things is just take your time. Make a template. Take a magic marker, take a piece of cardboard, and write every piece down as it goes in. Draw a circle around it. Set that piece there, and it'll keep you from losing your parts. Got all the head back together, and all the water necks, sensors, everything, VTEC, everything is reassembled and ready to go and torqued to spec, Loctited down on the ends of the caps. So what we're going to do next is I've actually decided to upgrade a little bit, as we got right here, Speed Factory L19 head studs. And those things look good, so we're going to throw all the boost to it after this, and hopefully the rods hold and keep making power. And I've got to say thank you to Jason Waters. He actually had these things in stock, and he's actually a good tuner out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. As y'all know, I usually do most of my business with Humble Performance, but sometimes not everybody has everything you need at all given times, and try to work with your shops, keep them in business. So this time Jason had them in stock, and I appreciate him getting them to me in a timely manner. So those things sure are pretty. So either way, I'm gonna get this head gasket on. We're putting a JE Pro Seal head gasket on, and get this dude clamped down. Get in, got the dowel pins in, so head's ready to set on. After that is just start assembling the cams and getting it all timed back out, intake manifold and exhaust manifold back on. This guy will be ready to rock and roll again. So hopefully we'll have great compression and get this thing back out to the track. So we'll hit the next phase and see what happens. On here, we're getting ready to put the torque down on these head bolts. One thing I use a digital torque wrench instead of a click. It was a little bit more money, but when you do use a digital, you can set the number you want, and as you pull, the thing will start squealing, and as it gets to the torque point, it'll actually come to a consistent squeal. So it'll start chirping, then it'll squeal, and as you hold it, the squeal will kind of stop. What happens, a head bolt will pull on around a little bit. It has a little give. So most people come to that first click, they stop. Well, catch this, that first click, if you're supposed to be torqued to 80 pounds, it may only be at 70 to 72. So you may wind up with a 80-pound head stud, a 72, a 68, So even though your clicker says it's right, it's not. So when you use a torque wrench that squeals, you can hold it there, and then sometimes it'll finally give a little bit more, and you can go around this thing about 10 times until you get every bolt exactly the same on the dead on number, which is what's gonna make these things hold down the best. And I've been pushing this thing. I've probably made well over 100 passes on the track and never blow a head gasket. I may blow a head gasket next time down the track, but I kind of take a lot of that as taking the time and torquing these things down accurately. Okay, we're getting into torque sequences now, so we're going to turn on my wrench here. And yeah, mine calls for 90 pounds of torque, So what we're going to do is 3 equals, and I've already kind of hand tightened them, so I may be close to the first torque range. So I like to do 3 equals, which is 30, 60, and 90. So just get it somewhere close. Let's do a 31 or. There we go. So when you go to torque this thing, did you hear that chirping? And now I'm actually holding the wrench the exact same spot. You see the numbers going down. Well, that's what I was talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and hold it till it squeals. And now as you see, the wrench keeps moving. Well, what happens if you used a torque wrench, the clicker, it would have clicked that first time. And you can see how much further I'm already going. And now it's actually getting to a spot where it's going to about stop squeal. And when it stays squealing, so it stays squealing, it means I actually hit my 30 pounds of torque. So what you'll do that with every one of them. So if you would done a standard click, you know, it works fine with normal motors that are not going to be high performance, but if you're going to be putting a motor together like this one that's going to be doing, you know, 600 to 900 horsepower, you know, you better make sure these torques are dead on and don't make a mistake.